Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And we're going to take a minute here and we're going to put a paper on the door in case it's an open courtroom today for this purpose, but it gets a little noisy out there at times, and I think it'd be best to keep the door shut, at least initially. I'm Judge Hayes, and this is the committee to appoint an interim sheriff until next year's election, since we have Sheriff Bean's letter of resignation that he submitted back, I believe, in March. And so this committee is made up by statute, by law, of the prosecutor, the clerk, and the probate court judge to consider an appointment. While there may be some discussion as to whether or not Open Meetings Act applies, it's my opinion that it does not. It's our legal opinion from the county that it does not apply. However, with the purpose of and intent of having transparency as much as possible, we're saying the Open Meetings Act applies. And I'm going to need to do something. Oh, Mr. Heffron, you probably remember how to do that. We're getting a little echo feedback. We'll wait a minute. While we're here, though, I think Zoom and YouTube is the best thing ever for county government and local township government. It's incredible.
Best thing that ever happened from COVID is that.
It is. It allows everyone to be involved and be informed is the main thing. Whereas before, if you couldn't make the meeting, you didn't know what happened. More feedback if you need to. Kill that. There we go. You got it. What would I do without my staff? Anyway, the purpose is to interview 3 applicants that have submitted their letter of interest for the position to fill the remaining term of office for Sheriff Bean, who's set to retire September 8th. Appointment for the position, or the partial term, ending 12/31/2024. We do have, even with my comment that Open Meetings Act doesn't apply, we do have an agenda here. Are there any additions to the agenda?
No.
Any motion to accept the agenda?
I would move that the agenda be accepted as written.
You second that?
I do.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed say no. It passes. We do allow for public comment today. If you wish to make public comment, we do have our podium there. And you're limited to 3 minutes per person to make an appointment or to make a statement. We won't respond to anything you say during public comment. Also, I would ask, Mr. Rossiter, as prosecutor, suggested this earlier. You know, I think it really would be a good idea. You know, while this is come on in. While this is an open meeting, and certainly I would hope that any candidates for the position would be willing to remain outside during the interview process, so that, you know, the last person up would have a couple hours to try and formulate some answers. So I'd like some agreement with the candidates that they're willing to remain outside the courtroom.
Yes, sir. That'd be fine by me. I'm good with
Okay. Good.
Perfectly fine.
And you're up.
I have no choice.
You get to stay.
That's right.
But yeah, that'd be great. Public comment? Anybody wish to make any, before I ask them to leave? I mean, we'll take public comment. So come on up to the podium, just give us your name, and I'd like to know your township. That's it. I would like to have your township. You can move that, it's on wheels.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, Mr. Heffern supervised the construction of that, so, you know, anybody have any questions, they can.
I put my public comment in writing.
Oh, okay.
that? Hi. Anyhow, my name's Mike Bertram. I live at 7741 South M88 Highway in Mansalona, Michigan, and I want to thank Cheryl Guy, clerk, and the Honorable Judge of Probate, Norman Hayes, and the prosecutor James Rossiter for holding this today. Appreciate that very much. I'm here in front of you today to ask that you consider Kevin Hoke as the appointed sheriff for Antrim County until the election next November. Of course, at that time, the registered voters will determine who our next sheriff will be. You have his resume in front of you for your perusal. I will not speak to that. I would like to address you in regards to his leadership and character in the past few months since his appointment as undersheriff. And just as an FYI, I've known him many years before that. My wife knew him way before I did, but anyhow, I would like to address his character and his leadership abilities, etc. His character is very kind, sincere, open-minded, quiet, and humble. He's also very loyal to those that he has served in the past. Leadership. Kevin has demonstrated the attributes of leadership through being an excellent counselor, coach, and cop. He has not hesitated to take the necessary action after full investigation to follow through on the complaints. Kevin has transformational leadership qualities that are exhibited in his examples as the undersheriff and prior to that time in his community involvement. Kevin is a visionary. Kevin has a clear and compelling vision and will stimulate his deputies to high performance standards. Kevin has the ability to organize people and resources toward the effective and efficient pursuit of predetermined objectives. Kevin organizes people and resources where needed. Kevin is a board member of the Antrim County Fair Board, so he deals with animals as well as humans. And I have had the pleasure of working with him on the Fair Board for the last 7 months. I'm a member of the Antrim County Fair Board also. I've also had the pleasure of working with him on the 911 board, thanks to the Terry Van Ossing and the County Board of Commissioners. I was appointed to the 911 board for another term. So it's been a pleasure working with him on that. Kevin also participates in his community in Elk Rapids, which I've had the pleasure of hearing about in the recent months since we got our boat down there now. So I visit with the community a little bit down there. And in closing, I would like to thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity for public comment on this very important leadership role in our community. Once again, I would like you to allow Kevin Hoke as your appointment to sheriff. I wholly endorse him as a candidate of choice. And once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Copies of this?
Well, we have.
Yeah, one copy. I'll just give you
Right.
just one more so
Oh, okay,
that way you'll be covered.
sure.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, come on up.
Good afternoon, everybody. I speak as a former state representative, and even before that, knowing Kevin Hoke for over 20 years, working with him on scuba dive related cases with the Northern Michigan Mutual Aid Dive Team. It's fantastic to work with, and even though the independent agencies that come together and boast about being better, Kevin has the ability to bring everybody together to work as a team of one, which is something that I find very refreshing. It wasn't until I became a state representative of the 105th district, which included Antrim County, and part of our goals while in Lansing was to form legislation to help improve areas of northern Michigan, not just Antrim County, but all other counties north of M66 and all the way up into the Upper Peninsula. We didn't get a lot of ayes because of the southern districts and southern counties, but we fought hard for it. And anytime that something came up that was law enforcement related, I always picked up the phone, and Kevin was always there to be able to share his insight. And his insight took it a lot deeper than what I would have expected. Because of his tenure in Antrim County, he was able to talk from the bottom up and share his experience and his foresight and his vision of what truly needed to happen for a successful division, not just in Antrim County, but working with everybody. And for me, as a state representative, it was one of my greatest pleasures in working with him, as well as Sheriff Dan Bean, in a lot of the issues that needed to be addressed here in Antrim County. He's got the talent, he's got the structure in his mind, he has the knowledge, and he has the humbleness, I think, to be a perfect sheriff. And I would highly recommend him for Sheriff of Antrim County. Thank you.
Just Representative, I know, for the record, we just need your name and
Greg.
township.
Greg McMaster,
Sure.
Milton Township.
Okay, great. Good. I know you were, but so we have it on the record. Thank you. Good
Yep.
seeing you. Anybody else? Address this? No? Well, I'll ask candidate number 2 and 3. Thank you, gentlemen, for agreeing with that. It's what's fair, you know. I should indicate too, this is being broadcast on YouTube today. I thought it'd be best, like I said, I'm a real advocate for Zoom and YouTube and county government, and hopefully there'll be some people watching as well, be informed. Our first candidate is Mr. Morris, and who's seated at the table already.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you wanted to make a preliminary statement. You can make a preliminary statement if you wish, or we can just go jump right into the question.
You go forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, the prosecutor's gonna go first. He has some really nice questions written up, and so we'll let him go first, okay?
Okay,
All right, good seeing you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Morris.
what happened?
So, as Judge Hayes just indicated, I have a variety of questions. I'm going to, just so you know, and I will tell the other candidates, I'm going to ask the same questions of every individual so that it's apples to apples.
Yep.
Why do you want to be the Antrim County Sheriff?
I want to build a strong community relationships between the sheriff's office and the county community. Just so we have some pride and continued pride in this county. That's why I strive to have pride in what we do. Just a motivation of the department members to serve the community better. Really, my desire is to have the Antrim County Sheriff's Office as that star, if you would, that shining star on the county hill, that everybody feels that they're part of. The community feels a part of the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office feels a part of the community.
Who would your choice of undersheriff be?
Detective Sergeant Brian Knight.
So presumably, I asked that question because the appointment is to be effective September 8th.
Correct.
So I'm just kind of curious what thoughts going into the process. You want the sheriff's office to be the shining star. How important to get to that point? How important is training in your view?
Utmost.
Okay. That being said, do you engage in training to further your career or your competency and proficiency as a law enforcement officer? Do you engage in any training activities outside of what is required by the current policy of the office?
I'm sorry, which could you elaborate on that?
Yes. I've got a list of several areas of
Yeah.
training. Do you engage in any outside training in personal defensive tactics, whether it's boxing or any type of combative?
No, just exercise. That's about it. No.
What about shooting skills?
Yes.
How often do you partake in that?
Beyond the training that we have, one time a year through our DARE gun shoot program.
The dare shoot?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
What about situational defensive tactics, meaning occasionally, and we have it much better here in northern Michigan, but occasionally you end up with barricaded subjects or subjects who are unwilling, and you have to come up with a plan as to how to get them to come out, or worst case scenario, how to extract them? Do you do any, have you done any?
No, not training itself, but the meeting with Sergeant Knight, who has been part of the ERT team, our Deputy Skansky, who's also involved. Previous people have done that job as well.
And what about any type of professional readings?
Yes.
So if you were to come up with a professional reading list for officers, a suggested reading material, what 3 books would you put on that list? They don't even have to be books, publications.
Okay. Number 1, I want to have the Bible.
Okay.
Number 2, I would have 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. And also have the 21 Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell.
Very well. So I'm going to give you a scenario.
Okay.
You're at the range and you have to qualify, because presumably you have to qualify on a yearly basis as law enforcement. So you're there, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but for purposes of this scenario, you score yourself. You go downrange and check your targets.
Mm-hmm.
Your best friend on the department is really a non-shooter. And you're shooting that, you're on the firing line next to him. So you know how he shot, and you know that he lied about his score to avoid going unqualified and hamper any effects of promotion. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
I either pull them aside and let them know that that's what I saw. It's an integrity issue. It's a teamwork issue. It's a trust issue. And it's a respect issue. So you sit down with that person, you let them know what you saw. You give them the opportunity to confess that themselves and go forward with that. Or unfortunately, you have to, tell that friend that you're going to go to whoever needs to correct.
So you would give him the opportunity to correct the issue before you.
Absolutely.
Okay. But in the end, let's say he didn't, you would go ahead and.
Unfortunately, I would have to, and he would know that.
Okay.
Or they would know that.
It's going to sound like a strange question, but do you support the death penalty?
Oh, great question. Very good question.
I will tell you, it matters not whether you do or you don't, but there are 2 right answers, yes or no.
And
I would have to say it was have to be on the situation and what was done and things like that. Obviously, we have our personal beliefs and what is bad to somebody might not be bad. Obviously, crimes against children is one of those things. Yeah, but put them up there. But also in the same token, I'm not God. And I don't know what's in their heart, and only God knows what's in their heart. And so that's who I'm led by.
Okay. Switching gears, and my questions do that. They're not arranged by any kind of a theme. Aside from compensation and pay, because that's outside of the sheriff's ability, that's subject to the Board of Commissioners. But aside from compensation and pay, what would you do to retain employees throughout the office? Because I know that the sheriff is responsible for not just deputies, but the corrections officers. There's an administrative staff. So how would you retain employees?
By far, the sense of belonging, the sense of purpose, to let them lead, to allow your subordinates to take a leadership position, to be open-minded enough to allow yourself for them to influence you. So therefore, when it's time for you, that they're going to be open-minded enough to have you influence them. It's teamwork. I've been here 23 years at the sheriff's office. I've met with a lot of deputies. Just recently, with our numbers that they've gone down, we were really shorthanded. Our department stepped up to the plate. We're having the same problem in the jail now with low numbers, but everybody steps up to the plate and does what they need to do, and that really is impressive to me, that our people are able to do that with what they have. But I've learned in talking with them and in my own experience is if you give them a little bit of that leadership, that they sense of belonging, These people were running through walls of what they have. Can you imagine if you gave them a little bit of that leadership, what they would want to do, that sense of belonging, that sense of pride? They'll take on the world for you.
What has been the most impactful felony case you've been involved with to date?
Well, it's a long story, but without a doubt, I had years ago. I handled a domestic violence situation, and the only thing I can say to our people with us here is it reminded me of the movie "Sleeping with the Enemy" with Julia Roberts. She was being abused by her husband. She actually, everybody thought that she was in a wheelchair. She was unable to walk. We got a call one time or in the morning that a husband called saying his wife was missing and all their money was taken from their bank account. So he was really concerned that his wife was missing, all the money was missing out of their bank account. We followed up by going to the bank, and when the bank person there realized who it was, she informed me that woman is just left or shortly before left. And us, of course, knowing that she was in a wheelchair, could not walk, asked the question, well, how did she get here? She drove. Well, how did she drive? She's in a wheelchair. She walked into the bank. We then discovered after follow-up and things like that, more follow-up, we found out that she went to the VA hospital in Saginaw. Took all the money there and went to the VA. They could not tell us much else from there. Our case was basically ended there because it was taken over by the military or the federal government at that point. But we were informed that she was being abused for years, and she faked being crippled. And at the time that she was able to, when he was out, she took the car, went to the bank, withdrew the money, and drove to Saginaw. So that was pretty impactful. I use that story all the time with my DARE classes and things like that. I thought that was brave. I thought that was great. And it's a story that I like to, that's the most impactful.
What type of administrative experience do you have?
I spent 5 years with the Ellsworth Police Department doing administrative work there. But other than that, that would be it.
I know, and this is kind of a follow-up. I'm getting a little off my script here, but some of your answers lead to other questions. You've run the DARE program, correct?
Correct.
Any administrative issues there, whether it's grant writing or anything of that nature?
Just filing, keeping your stats up. I also do the car seat program, the child car seat program for the county. So there's audits and making sure your numbers are up to par. And we've got car seats that they come in and make sure that we have the number of car seats that they're being distributed properly, that we're not, our numbers are there. So yeah, every year we do a stat sheet that we have to turn into the state, and making sure our numbers match what we have. Also the budget, keeping the DARE budget there for that as well.
How would you describe your leadership philosophy?
Same thing I explained shortly before. There's a philosophy called it's a philosophy, just as I mentioned, a decentralized command, where you allow your people to lead. You surround yourself with a strong group, and then you give them that opportunity to lead. Motivational, communication, humility, selfishness, just ability to communicate with them and really talk to them. I get to know everybody and really get to know their skills, getting to know them personally, their concerns, and then moving forward.
As the sheriff, how would you handle discipline within the office?
Same way. I think that was a great example that you gave from the range. One thing that I've realized in the 23 years of being a deputy with the sheriff's office and talking with the deputies there over the years, they know when they've done something that deserves. And we talk to everybody, and everybody says, you know what, I am willing to take that right up. So that would be similar to what that is. You give them that opportunity. When they feel empowered and they feel that you have their support, when that time comes, saying, you know what, I told you I can't help you out any further than this. They realize that that they messed up. So.
On the flip side of that coin, opposite of discipline, how would you handle commendations or recognizing good work, good performance by law enforcement?
Oh, sure.
Or corrections officers or anybody
Oh,
within the office?
Yeah, for sure. I think they deserve public recognition. I think it's whether it's on paper, whether it's on the media, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on your page, your internet page. It might not be one of those awards that deserve the plaque or a photograph, with you, but it's going to decide. It's going to lead to some sort of an award, some sort of praise.
And now, how would you go about maintaining or improving morale? Because, it's law enforcement at times recently is not viewed in a favorable light. And I think I'm safe to say that in a lot of departments and a lot of offices, it's hard to get up and go to work every day if you're a law enforcement officer.
Sure.
How would you maintain or improve the morale?
Same thing, it's building trust, building teamwork, building motivation. Like I said before, I have seen department members do extraordinary things without thanks, without praise, working long hours, working double shifts because they just realize that they need to get the job done. And like I said, if you give them a little bit of that praise, that motivation, like I said, they'll do anything for you. And I think that has a sense of belonging and a sense of teamwork, and that in itself retains officers because they feel they're belong to something, bigger than they are.
This is another hypothetical, but it has some truth behind it because you said you've been here for 23 years. So you've worked with someone for 20 years side by side as equals.
Yes.
Now you find yourself in a position of leadership. Can you separate your personal feelings that you've developed over those X number of years and make employment decisions based not on the friendship, but on what's required for the office?
Both, because I think when you have a friendship and a true friendship, I think that's understandable. And just like was brought up before, and you pull them aside, you're able to, I think they understand the leadership, you understand that friendship. So I think it can go both ways. I know it sounds like it's separate, but I think if you have a true friendship, that true respect, that true teamwork, they're going to be on the same page you are.
So now in your position as a deputy, you have a certain amount of cover for decisions that you make. And what I mean by that is, if I don't like the decision, you come out to my house for whatever, and you handle a case, and I don't like the way you handled it. There's another individual that I could speak to, whether it's your sergeant, the undersheriff, or the sheriff, and I was there as the assistant prosecutor. It gives you a little bit of cover, as I said. But if you're the sheriff, the road stops with you. Are you ready for that level of responsibility?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I think that goes along with surrounding yourself with good people. I think it surrounds yourself with a good commissioners that you trust and you can work with, and just bouncing those ideas off with them if they have any concerns, or if there's a concern there that you could even go and talk to them about.
Now, how do you see your role as the sheriff, which is an elected position, an elected official? And I'll give you a little bit more here. You come up with a problem, the situation is presented to you. You believe you have what you believe to be the right decision. And if you make that decision, you know it will cost you re-election. And what you believe is the wrong decision, you'll take a little bit of heat, but you'll be re-elected. You choose the hard right or the easy wrong?
The hard right. But that again goes along with the people that you trust, the people that you have with you to make, to help you out make those decisions. But yeah, ultimately it's going to be, the strong right.
I have no further questions.
You sure?
I'm at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, sure. They were really good questions, by the way.
Yeah. What is your ideal work environment?
My ideal work environment would be a unified department. Just when you could come and go and just sit with everybody. I'm really open to communication. I'm really compassionate about people. So it's really the open-mindedness of knowing that they can come, anybody can come to you and talk, and that I can go to anybody and talk, is that having a unified department. And then that way, I think it transforms to the community.
What was your greatest failure on the job? Do you have the biggest failure?
Wow, that's a great question. I'll have time to think about that one. Not that I don't have one. I just think that there's probably a lot that I could choose from. I'll have to pick out which one that's the best answer for you, because I've made plenty of mistakes and been embarrassed plenty of times, but I can't recall which one offhand what that might be.
What inspired you to pursue your career in criminal justice?
Well, that's another good question too. You hear law enforcement officers say all the time, I didn't choose a profession, the profession chose me. And I really believe that. I believe that I was ordained by God to become a police officer. I didn't choose it. I didn't want to do it. As a matter of fact, going through with it, I tried to battle it. But one thing I've learned, like Jonah, you don't say no to God, because he's going to lead you where he wants you to be.
How would your previous employer describe you?
Well, it's been a long time since I had a previous employer. So, but I think they would say that hardworking, very polite, honest, integrity, just shows up every day and do the job. The attendance is great. Ability is good, and just a willingness to serve.
What are your strengths as an officer and a leader?
Communication. I think it's the communication skills, just the ability to talk, the ability to communicate with people, community as well, working with the community, just getting to know people and people's needs, and having that compassion for people and the compassion to serve.
What would you say your weaknesses are?
A lot of people say that I'm too friendly. I don't have that spunk to go in there and do it, but I'm not sure if the kindness and things like that is necessarily a weakness. I think that could be a strength as well.
Okay. How do you handle a tense, stressful situation while out in the field?
That's a good question. I think it's prayer, and also just taking a step back. Having those people around you. You can, a lot of times you're going to things that you're with somebody, you're with a partner or whatever. So you're able to take a step back. I've had to do that with domestic violence cases. I had to do that with child abuse cases. Those are the ones that really get you amped up the most, and you want to do things and your temperament goes, but you have to either walk out or you have to get with your partner, and that's when your friendships and your communication with your partner, and then that teamwork that they're able to talk to you as well, and just give you a piece about it.
I think that's all I have.
Okay. Now, I know that you were with the Ellsworth department for a while there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a working relationship with the other departments in the county?
Oh yes, very close. Oh yeah. Yeah, even through what I'm doing now as the school resource officer, we work with different agencies. We have meetings with different agencies, with probate court, with the HHS. They're called task force meetings with the schools. All of our agencies show up for those. We have one for every school district, where everybody gets together and has those meetings.
And so you have a working relationship with the chiefs?
Oh, great.
Each of the departments?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you believe is the most significant issue facing the Antrim County Sheriff's Department?
I would have to say right now it's being able to retain officers, and that's internally, but that's also the climate that we're in as well. Police officers are hard to find now, but once you have them, you have to retain them. And you need to have them want something here that they're going to want to hold on to.
And what's your vision for the sheriff's department 10 years from now?
Oh, that's great. To have such a working relationship with the community, that the community looks at the sheriff's office with pride. That we're able to look at the community with pride, to do things with the community, serving the community through a community focused charity, doing things with the community, improving some of the things that we have, like mentioned with task force, getting together with the internal a task force, whether it be safety, driving safety, seat belts, different interdictions, like a drug interdiction, gang interdiction, those types of things. We in our department handle the majority of the complaints in this county. Meaning that if you call 911, the chances are you're going to get a sheriff's deputy. I would say probably 90% of the time. But yet we rely on other agencies to come in and do their interdiction programs. I would really like to see Antrim County do our own thing. So, because if we're responding to the community and they're seeing us the most, there's no reason why we can't be out there doing those things too. So we're out and about, being seen in the public, and taking pride in that.
Okay. What, if you know, what are the issues facing our townships in Antrim County?
Some of the issues are facing our townships. Funds. I think that's that's a lot of it. So just being able to to get things done that way, and so that criminal justice focus. There's certain needs that the townships need is more coverage. Us to be seen more in their community. So because when we're not there, it shows. But a lot of it is going to be financial issues, and getting the coverage that the community needs in order to get us to the places where they want us to be and fulfill the needs that they have.
Just to follow up, I think to Mr. Rossiter's death penalty question, Michigan doesn't have the death penalty.
No.
Except federally. There is a federal provision where we could a citizen be charged, but it have to be through the federal court. Okay. Great question.
Yeah.
Everybody's flat with that one. I don't have any other questions. I know Mr. Morris, I obviously do the sheriff's department, and I'm sure you do too, and I'm sure you do too. And I'm amazed at the caliber of candidates that we have for this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up that you want to add?
No, I guess the one, maybe if I can retract that, is there anything that you haven't been asked that you feel was important for the board to know?
Yes. There was a question that, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot there too. We had a training on search warrants and things like that. We just had a recent a training, and I'm not sure if you remember the first question that you asked in that training. Do you remember what that was?
It was probably constitutional.
He asked what the most important document was, and by far it's the U.S. Constitution. So that's what a law enforcement officer is. That's what a sheriff does. The number one priority in this county is upholding the U.S. Constitution. And between that and the Bible, I will not sway on those.
I
Thank
don't
you.
have any other questions. No. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. I mean, they're all here.
Yeah. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
See?
The only thing I wonder is that we put 2 o'clock as the time.
That's a
Yeah,
good point.
if somebody's watching, and maybe they're busy at work and they don't. Let's wait until 2.
Okay,
We'll wait until 2, in case there is anybody watching and they want. We're gonna wait until 2 because, it is noticed for 2 o'clock. And if people are waiting, maybe they're doing something, and all of a sudden they're gonna come out and
Okay.
see, and we don't want them to miss shit.
You want me to stay out here, Your
Oh,
Honor?
you can come in. I mean, that's fine, or whatever. I mean, that's whatever you want to do.
I've got something for you if you guys want to know.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So we'll be in recess, I guess, for 15 minutes, folks. You want to get walk around? Yeah. How you doing?
hi there.
Good, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
If you guys get a chance. Yeah.
Under freedom. We're not. YouTube is, can you pause that for a minute? Yeah.
That's all right. I'd like to try to get it.
Oh, well,